Taking responsibility for your life allows you to write down your own destiny instead of handing the pen to someone else. My name is James, and this is my take on reality. Let's get it. A personal pet peeve of mine is when relationship gurus try to create an analogy between romantic relationships and the animal kingdom. This would make sense if you called for an Uber and a lion pulled up. These folks always start the conversation with, in nature, lions do this and wolves do that. Therefore, women should be subservient to men. That is ridiculous. During the tell-all, when Ben was giving unsolicited relationship advice, he compared men's sexual nature to that of a lion. He said, stereotype, so now I'm going to get in trouble. Hint, anytime someone recognizes they're about to get in trouble, you know they're about to say something stupid, which is why they're about to get in trouble. Ben said, we as men are the predators, lions, looking for gazelles. You're kind of hoping it's a bit of a race. You don't want it to just lay down and give up. Oh no, that's no fun. If a gazelle ever attacked me, I wouldn't know what to do. It's a turnoff. How do you systematically go after women who are approaching their sexual prime and not respect their sexuality? God forbid a woman knows what she wants and goes after it with a willing partner, Kim. Now that I think about it, you're probably right, Ben. You wouldn't know what to do with somebody like that. You know what they're called? They're called adults. First things first. It should go without being said, Ben, women are not animals. They are people. People have their own desires, hopes, dreams, and ambitions. Creating an analogy between the predatory relationship of a lion and its prey to human sexuality, this only goes to prove two things. One, you have no idea what goes on in human sexuality. Two, you have no idea what goes on in the animal kingdom. Lions eat gazelles, Ben. They don't date them. Interesting note, it's actually the lioness who does the hunting. Oops. So, by your analogy, women should be the sexual aggressor. Of course, Ben doesn't want a woman who is sexually aggressive. The way you are after mahogany lends itself to the outdated and misogynistic notion that women don't know what they want. They need a man like him to tell them what they want and what is good for them. Is this why Ben insisted on meeting with her father alone? Sir, you have to get your daughter in line. I came all this way to meet her and she's acting like we're not going to get married. P.S. I already told her that this is what I want. The entire mindset that men are like wolves or lions is ludicrous. This is what happens when you get your sex education from cartoons. These positions reveal two things. One, insecurity in Ben's perceived masculinity. Two, that he's too weak to deal with a strong woman. Iron sharpens iron. If you see yourself as a strong, intelligent man, pairing yourself with a weak follower doesn't help you at all. If anything, it hurts you and holds you back. What is extremely troubling is Ben brags about having experienced counseling married couples. How many relationships did you kill, Ben? He's like the Buffalo Bill of relationships. First he fatten him up, he skin him, and then he try to wear him as a coat. He'll pretend to be in a functional relationship like the one he just destroyed. Ben goes on to say because his marriage failed, he should have been counseling himself. Notice how he said he should have counseled himself, but he never said he did anything wrong. I guess he would have counseled himself on how to overlook the wrongdoing of other people. Before the tell-all, Ben said he was determined to set the men straight. In his assessment, the guys were not standing up to their women. The women were crossing the boundaries of human dignity. Here's some concepts that Ben should take into consideration. Bodily autonomy. The ability for you to decide for yourself whether you want to stay, meet, or talk to a stranger from the internet who decides to take it upon himself to track you down in your country regardless of what you say or think and demand that you give yourself physically to him. But James, they weren't going to do anything until they got married. That's what he said. But he also said he went down there to get engaged, to marry her, so he could spend the rest of his life with her. I am not willing to overlook that in some religions, it is acceptable that once you get married to somebody, you are entitled to their body. The ability to respect the humanity of another, despite the fact that you want to be with them. Respecting human dignity, you back off when you realize they don't want you. Simple dignity. I would rather be alone than beg someone to spend time with me. Have the dignity and self-respect like to want someone who wants you. Love is an emotion. You cannot argue someone into having feelings for you. If logic and the reasonable arguments don't work, Ben will of course hit you with the "but God told me so." Off rip, if being in a relationship requires me to degrade myself by begging a 20-year-old to like me, I would rather be alone. I like me, so at least I will enjoy the company. Ben offered crazy Mike advice. He stated the obvious. Jimena is in it for money. Duh. He said Mike needs to recognize that she doesn't want him and leave. He attributed this all to Mike being love blind. Later, Ben said of Usman and Kim's relationship, Usman has a type. He likes older women. Ooh, that was a burn. Shots fired, son. Shots fired. You just looked Kim in the face and called her old. He went on. And all young girls slide in his DM. It's true intimacy. Until you get face to face, everything behind you is in the past. What the hell are you talking about, Ben? That was just a bunch of words thrown together, a bunch of phrases. Are you crazy? That would be like me saying eggs, milk, butter, and an oven. And then assuming that because I've said those words, that somehow I know how to make a cake. It just sounds like he throws out concepts and ideas that he himself don't understand and can't explain. You can tell Usman's type by his actions. His smile when he's talking to Zara versus his smile while talking to or standing there taking a picture with Kim or Lisa. Usman does have a type, but Kim and Lisa are opportunities. Let's not get the two confused. This is why all his pictures with them look like hostage videos. They need to go back and check the tape because he may be trying to blink messages. Somebody is sitting there watching him saying, "Oh, he's sending it. I have it. SHIT. Send help. Inform team." I guess Ben missed the obvious fact that both times Usman was on the show, it just so happened to correspond with the release of a song. Even when Ben was talking about meeting face to face, he skipped right over the part where the other person gets to decide if they want to actually continue the relationship. Ideally, there are several traits that successful counselors should have. Watching Ben counsel the other cast, these are things that I think Ben is missing. Empathy. Ben may have sympathy for other people, but he is not empathetic. The difference. Sympathy involves understanding from your own perspective. Empathy involves putting yourself in the other person's shoes and understanding why they may have these particular feelings. If you don't understand why they feel the way they feel, how do you work with them to correct their behavior? 2. Non-judgmental. Ben is nothing but judgmental. His approach to all these discussions becomes a direct reflection of him and his views. It feels like Ben isn't listening to help you, but rather he's listening to establish his own superiority over the person he's talking to. He has already decided what he wants to talk about, and no matter what the other person says or does, he's going to go through with his pre-prepared script. As an example of this, in the tell-all, he used everyone else's stories to try and justify his own actions. He describes Mike as lovesick, and because of this, it should excuse all of Mike's unacceptable behavior. After all, Mike is just so in love, it makes him act foolishly. In turn, Ben uses this as a cover because if anybody found his approach to Mahogany inappropriate, he would just simply turn around and say that he was acting love blind.
Wait, you all are clapping? Who's clapping?
Everybody, they love to see love.
Ideally, there are several core traits that a successful counselor should have. Watching Ben attempt to counsel the other cast members, these are some of the things that I notice he's missing. 1. Empathy. Ben may have sympathy for other people, but he is not empathetic. The difference. Sympathy involves understanding from your own perspective. Empathy involves putting yourself in the other person's shoes and understanding why they may have these particular feelings. If you don't understand why they feel the way they feel, how do you work with them to correct their behavior? 2. Non-judgmental. Ben is nothing but judgmental. His approach to all these discussions becomes a direct reflection of himself and his views. As examples of this, we already talked about Mike and his discussion of Mike being love blind and how it mirrors and creates excuses for Ben's mistakes in being love blind. We also talked about his discussion with Kim about how men are predatory by nature. This idea as presented by Ben can easily be transferred to his own story to justify why he went to Peru uninvited to hunt down mahogany. 3, and there's a big one for me, he is not an effective communicator. There is a misconception that willingness to speak publicly or stand in the spotlight somehow makes you a good communicator. It does not. There are 2 basic elements to being an effective communicator. 1, listening skills. He doesn't actively listen to what the people are trying to tell him. He's merely listening for a break in their speech so he can blurt out his points and positions. Ben is not interested in helping people do the right thing. He's interested in being right. There is a difference. 2, being able to effectively share ideas in a way that allows the other person to know what you are talking about. Ben doesn't do that. He puts together these false analogies and these big contrived ideas that have nothing to do with anything. It doesn't give people a clear and direct roadmap as to what you're trying to say and the points you're trying to make and how those points are going to affect their lives in a positive way. An example of this, and again, I mentioned this is my pet peeve. He compared the dating habits of men to lions and how we're out there hunting women. I retort, no, Ben, maybe he's a decent guy who is out looking for a companion that he can share his life with. To wrap it all up, Ben's friend Jessica called him a narcissist. Keeping that in mind, Ben's approach to counseling sounds like empathetic narcissism, which presents itself as narcissistic projection. Narcissistic projection is a behavior that manifests when someone with a narcissistic personality like Ben's projects a trait or behavior onto another person. This is characterized by the statement, "It's not me, it's you." This explains why Ben chose to discuss specific aspects of people's relationship and storylines. Ben's approach to counseling will always be flawed. He roots all his advice in what he understands about himself and his position. However, he is not honest with himself about himself. Therefore, he can never take responsibility for anything he does wrong. Never take advice from a man who is being held hostage by his own lies. That makes this an SHIT situation. Send help, inform team. I'm James, this is my take, and I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could.